service today, and it's wonderful to see guests and visitors here today for this special weekend as we celebrate these guys. Where are they? Over there and over there. Okay. And we say, Baruchim Habaim, welcome, and we're glad that you are here. There's something particularly fitting about having you guys here with us because our Haftorah reading from Isaiah 54 says, enlarge the place of your tents, stretch out your tabernacle curtains, don't hold back, lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes. And the idea, make room, because God is bringing new life, get ready to stretch. So every year our board prays strategically. We have these strategic meetings, and we develop a theme to help focus Ruach Israel for the coming Jewish year. Last year it was Hineni, here I am. Show up, listen up, step up to serve. And this year, our theme is moving outward toward growth. Baruchim Habaim. Blessed are those who come. Welcome. There's a place for you. And we're going to formally introduce this in the weeks ahead. We have another strategic planning meeting coming up next week to solidify some of the details of what that's going to look like on the ground. But this morning, I thought I'd walk through Isaiah 54 because it gives us a beautiful place to begin. And secondly, on this special wedding weekend, I think these words have something beautiful to say about marriage as Josh and Abby prepare to stand under the chuppah tomorrow and begin building a home together. So let's explore our Haftorah reading today. Now, Isaiah 54 is one of my favorite chapters in Tanakh. It's a message of God's unbreakable covenant with Israel. In our circles here, I just want to sort of say up front, we take Scripture very seriously and honor its original context. It's very important to us. Isaiah 54 is spoken to the Jewish people. When God's promise comes to Israel, when we take God's promises to Israel and then we universalize them and detach them from Israel, we can lose their unique message and his covenant with our people, and that is actually one of the ways that replacement theology takes root. So we want to be very careful. At the same time, Judaism has always treated Torah as living and engaged with our lives, and the sages have drawn upon these ancient words to illuminate new situations because God still speaks through his Torah, through his word. So we're going to hold both of those things together today. What Isaiah 54 means for Israel and what it can mean for us and teach us in our communities, our homes, our lives, and even in marriage. Okay? So let's begin with verse 1. We're just going to go through it. Shout, barren one who has not given birth. Burst into singing and shout, you who have not travailed. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married one, says Adonai. Our Haftorah is fifth in a series of 7 readings of consolation that carry us from Tisha B'Av, when we mourn the destruction of the temple, and all the way to Rosh Hashanah, coming up in about 3 weeks. After grieving the destruction of the temple from exile, the idea is that we turn towards God's promises of restoration. That's why we're reading this today. Destruction will not have the final word. God will not forsake his people. And here, Isaiah pictures Israel as a lamenting wife, unable to bear children. Lo Yalada has not given birth, and Lo Chala has not had the pains of birth. But Israel is called instead now to Rina, to rejoice. The days of barrenness are over and new life is coming. Think of the joy of a new mother with her child. How much greater the joy for one who has believed she would never have children. That's the idea here. So it will be for Israel. Jerusalem has been devastated, speaking of the Babylonian exile. The temple destroyed, and people are carried into exile. But now, God promises to bring Israel home. That's the context of this passage. And since this is a wedding weekend, there's a beautiful Jewish connection here. Tomorrow, at the height of their joy, Josh will break a glass under the chuppah, a reminder of Jerusalem's destruction. And we wonder, why bring sorrow into this joyful moment? Because Jewish life has always held both together. Even in our greatest celebrations, we remember where our people have come from. We hold lament and singing in tension, and somehow the joy becomes even deeper. We remember what was broken while believing that God is still restoring life. And that's part of our calling as a community, too. Healthy communities are not formed by avoiding difficult seasons. We grow by walking together through difficult seasons, holding sorrow honestly and carrying one another and helping one another return to joy once again. I think that Ruach Israel has done this especially well over the years. I think over the past decade through COVID, October 7th, and through difficult seasons close to home. We go through it together, and we learn to trust God together until we can sing again. And this is what you do in marriage. You go through difficult times together until you can sing again. This is the movement of Isaiah 54. Israel has known desolation, but now God says, sing, new life is coming. Now, the prophets work on multiple levels. So just before this, in Isaiah 53, we read of God's suffering servant. He has borne our griefs, carried our pains. He was pierced because of our transgressions, crushed because of our iniquities. He was cut off from the land of living for the transgression of my people. So for us, this is a clear picture of Yeshua, Israel's Messiah, bearing Israel's sin, bringing redemption in life to Israel and the nations. And as Israel's Messiah, Yeshua embodies Israel's story, and he enters into Israel's suffering and bears it himself. So when we read Isaiah 53, which isn't often done, read in conjunction with Isaiah 54, as Messianic Jews, there's powerful movement. Suffering gives way to restoration. Death gives way to new life. The servant suffers, and immediately after, the barren woman is told to sing. So for us, Yeshua stands at the heart of this hope. His suffering, through his death, through his resurrection, we experience forgiveness and new life, even as we await the fullness of Israel's redemption and the kingdom of heaven on earth that is coming. And then comes the question, well, what do we do when God brings new life? What do we do? And Isaiah answers, get ready to stretch. Get ready to stretch. New life requires us to stretch. Enlarge the place of your tents. Stretch out your tabernacles. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. This image is very powerful. Desolate Israel will experience such new life that she'll need to expand her tent to prepare for the blessing that God is giving. In its original context, Israel is being called to rebuild, to repopulate the land after the exile. God is promising restoration. Israel is told to prepare for it. And notice the language is enlarge, stretch, lengthen, strengthen, do not hold back. God's blessing sometimes stretches us beyond what is comfortable and what is familiar. Raina and I have experienced that as our family has grown, and our family, by God's grace, has grown. And God's blessing have stretched our capacity, changed our plans, and required us to trust him beyond what we felt comfortable many times. The verse continues, don't become self-protective. Trust God enough to stretch. And reading these words have actually become a big part of our family's dynamic. It's a part of our vision statement for our family and our marriage. These verses remind us, don't become self-protective. Trust God to stretch. There's something really beautiful about reading these words on a wedding weekend. Tomorrow, you guys will stand underneath a chuppah. It's a canopy stretched out over them as they begin building their new home together. Marriage itself is stretching. You make room for another person within your life. Your time is no longer your own. Your decisions, your plans, your dreams stretch to include someone else. And I love that the chuppah is open on every side. Jewish tradition connects that openness with the tent of Abraham and Sarah, a home open to all those who come near. What a beautiful vision for a Jewish home, deeply rooted in covenant with Jewish life, filled with the life of Yeshua, and from that rootedness, open outward, a place of hospitality and friendship and family and community and blessing. So you guys, enlarge your tent. Let God stretch you toward one another and together make room for what God is going to build in your marriage. And what is true of their home and our homes is also true of community. It's the same thing. Last year at Ruach Israel, our theme, like I said, was Hineni, here I am. So we learned to show up, we learned to listen, we learned to serve, servant leadership. And this year, we're we're going to turn outward. Baruchim habaim. If Hineni says, I am here to build together, then Baruch habaim says, and now we're going to make room for you. And that's what I hear Isaiah's words for Ruach Israel. Enlarge the tent. Stretch the curtains. Don't hold back. And we've lived this image. I remember, some of you guys remember when we were at the height of the COVID season, and we literally pitched this huge tent for outdoor services, lengthening cords and strengthening stakes. And it was during this Haftorah that we pitched that tent. And I remember us talking about how neat that was as the children ran under the tent. And years since at Ruach, we've kept building. We planted our intergenerational Etz Chaim trees, 2 apple trees out there. And if you see, there's actually apples growing on them now. Yeah, and the idea, it's a forward-looking vision. It's that our children's children will collect those apples for Rosh Hashanah and climb the trees. So we have a new arc through difficult seasons. We kept showing up, strengthening stakes. And now I think God is asking us to stretch in a new direction, not only strengthening what's already inside our tent, but opening it wider. And who is the Jewish person searching for God that you know? Searching for Messiah, for the freedom and purpose found in Yeshua. Searching for a community in which to live that out. Who is the intermarried family wondering whether there's a place for their daughter to have a bat mitzvah and still believe in Yeshua, who hasn't found us yet? Or the other Jewish believer in Yeshua who's wondering whether there's a place where their faith and Jewish identity can belong together because everyone's told them, no, it doesn't work that way, until they meet us. For years, we've joked that Ruach Israel is Boston's best-kept secret. Well, maybe it's time we stop becoming a well-kept secret. It's time for us to stretch. It is. And that may mean changing what's comfortable, opening our homes and our tables, building relationships with people we don't already know, making the life God has given us accessible to someone who isn't inside the tent yet. A welcoming community isn't simply one that says everyone is welcome. It's willing to stretch for the people that God brings. Isaiah says, don't hold back. If God is bringing new life, enlarge the tent. Now, verse 4 goes on because to tell us that we can stretch our tent. Why? Because God is faithful. And he says, fear not, for you will not be ashamed, nor cringe, for you will not be disgraced. For you will forget the shame of your youth, and you will remember the reproach of your widowhood no more. It's beautiful poetry. In verse 1 we saw, Lo Yalada, has not given birth, and now we see, Lo Tevoshi, you will not be ashamed. A moment later, you will forget the shame of your youth, from barrenness and disgrace to restoration, to freedom from shame. This verse is actually especially meaningful to me personally. Years ago, I was sitting in my old prayer swing in the yellow denim house. I don't know if anyone remembers that from a long time ago. And as I was sitting, I felt the Lord bring up some memories from high school and college. You know those memories that you don't really want to look back on? And it was some things that I was ashamed of and had buried. And I felt him inviting me to face them and then repent. And I did, with tears and grief. And afterward, I lay down on the grass and opened my Bible, and I opened it to Isaiah 53. So I figured that would be a good place to read, asking Yeshua for forgiveness. I fell asleep. And then I woke up, and there was this ray of sunshine highlighting Isaiah 54, which I had at that time never really noticed before. You will forget the shame of your youth. Isn't that beautiful? In context, God is speaking to Israel, promising that the shame and reproach of her past will not define her future. And in that moment, I sense God taking this word spoken to Israel and speaking through it very personally to me. You don't need to carry the shame anymore. I have forgiven you. Get up and live the life that I've called you to live. And that's important. Get up and live. That's the next part. It's word stayed with me ever since. Fear and shame make us self-protective. You can't serve God out of fear. You can't build healthy community in fear. You can't make room for others when you're constantly protecting yourself. God says to Israel, do not fear. Do not be ashamed. And in Yeshua we hear there is no condemnation for those who are in Messiah Yeshua. It doesn't mean we ignore wrongdoing or guilt. It's after repentance comes and then forgiveness sets us to live again. Isaiah tells us why we can live without fear in verse 5. For your Maker is your husband. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. He will be called God of all the earth. It's beautiful. The image is covenant. Israel belongs to him. God uses this image of a faithful husband for his relationship with his people. And it's beautiful. I mean, if we stretch this, we're at a wedding weekend, and we understand the power of this image. Tomorrow, you guys will make a promise to one another under the chuppah. And marriage isn't simply about how you feel. You enter into a covenant. You say, I am yours, and you are mine, and I will be faithful to you no matter what. And then the verse goes even further. For Adonai has called you back like a wife deserted and grieved in spirit. Israel's failures do not lessen God's faithfulness. You belong to me. Even when you wander, go astray, or do not love me the way you should, I will still call you back. And speaking to you guys once again, tomorrow, Josh, you'll become a husband to Abby. And take these verses about God's love to Israel as a husband to heart, because this is the same mission you have for her. And for all of us husbands here, a husband's most fundamental job is to pursue his wife, to make her feel totally secure in his love and protection and shelter. And even if he feels like she's not reciprocating, if he has complaints or he feels insecure himself, the message he must always communicate clearly is the same. I am yours. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And in the context of our passage, now we see why Israel can stretch without fear. She can rebuild and face the future because her identity doesn't depend upon her circumstances. It rests on God's covenant faithfulness. And I've been a husband for 19 years, and we just had our 19th anniversary. And being married to Raina is easy, so I'll just say one thing that to you guys, and also to all of us husbands together, to myself too. But there's a secret, and the secret is that security, your wife's security in your love, your presence, and you actively pursuing her, that's what will help your wife to feel secure enough to respond the same way with generosity. So if you're struggling, look to yourself and start there, and that will create this warm environment for the things that you might be looking for. This is in the scriptures. This is how God treats Israel. And this is why the Apostle Paul says, husbands, love your wives as Messiah has loved you. That's why he says this. And for everyone here, whether you're married or not, whether you have this in your life right now or not, this is modeled from God's covenant with us. So you have this with him. And this is even intended to point towards that greater, larger reality. And he is indeed faithful to love and to pursue us, and we can then model these values and covenant faithfulness to one another in the context of community, because God has done this for us. And community becomes a larger family, where these dynamics are worked out on a larger level. Now the promise becomes even stronger. In verse 9, for this is like the waters of Noah to me, as I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. The mountains depart, though the hills be shaken. My love will not depart from you, nor will my covenant of shalom be shaken. Isaiah 54 is not only connected to the Haftarah of consolation, we also read it when we read Parshat Noach, when we read about Noah. We connect it to this. Because of this verse, God reaches back to his covenant after the flood to describe the certainty of his love for Israel. Aren't rainbows remarkable? I mean, really, they are remarkable. God uses light and water as his paintbrush to draw a vast arc across the sky. I mean, it's stunning. I remember once at a healing prayer retreat in Florida, after a time of deep prayer, it was a very intensive kind of thing, and I was walking the beach and asking God to wash me clean. And suddenly this wall of rain just poured down over the beach and soaked me completely and then stopped just as quickly as it had come. And as far as I heard from other people, it didn't rain anywhere else, which is really cool. I don't know what to make of it. But when I looked up, this huge double rainbow stretched across the sky. And it was as if God whispered, I'm restoring you. I felt God's presence in it. Mountains may move, hills may shake, and God says, my love will not move. My covenant of shalom will not shake. Think about this movement. You were barren, now sing. You were ashamed, do not fear. You felt abandoned, remember, you belong to me. And when the mountains shake, my covenant will not. That's covenant. And on this wedding weekend, what an extraordinary picture of faithfulness that we are called to imitate. A marriage isn't built on the promise that mountains will never shake. They will shake. Covenant says, when the mountains shake, remain faithful. And healthy communities are built the same way, by people who keep showing up. It's not the people who have the best ideas or the people who are the most charismatic. It's not that. It's the people who show up. That builds community. That's covenant faithfulness. It's like all of you guys, the people who serve, who build, loving, forgiving, carrying one another through seasons of life, where you know that so-and-so isn't just going to leave because you step on their toes. That's covenant. That's what builds community. And that's why we can stretch. And we have that here. We have that at Ruach Israel. It's a beautiful thing, a beautiful community. You guys are absolutely amazing. And there's so much love here. And it's that security that makes this generosity possible. And that's why I think we're at this place where we can stretch right now. When I know that I belong, I don't have to protect my place. When I know that I'm loved, I can risk loving. When I know that God's covenant will hold me, I can open my life to someone else. And this is our hope as a Messianic Jewish community. Our covenant with Israel stands firm. Through Yeshua, he leads us toward eternal shalom, eternal redemption, calling us to rest in his faithfulness and embody that faithfulness towards one another. It's like it comes through us and then out into community life and out into the world. So we've seen this movement through Isaiah 54. Israel is barren. God promises new life. Israel is ashamed. God says, do not fear. Israel felt abandoned. God says, you are mine. The mountains may shake. His covenant of shalom will not. And then right in the midst of all of that restoration, God says, enlarge your tent. Do not hold back. He restores us and then calls us to build beyond ourselves. And I'll close with this image from our Besor reading in John 21, which brings this message home. Peter had failed Yeshua. He denied him 3 times. And now the risen Yeshua comes to Peter and asks him again 3 times, do you love me? Yes, Lord. Feed my lambs. Do you love me? Yes, Lord. Take care of my sheep. And again, do you love me? Lord, you know that I love you. Feed my sheep. Do you see the pattern? Peter's forgiven, Peter's restored, and then Yeshua gives him people to care for. The life that Yeshua gives Peter isn't meant to end with Peter. The life that he gives us isn't meant to end with us. It's meant to grow beyond us. And so, Josh and Abby, tomorrow you enter a covenant, and that covenant will stretch you. Make room for one another. You will change. You will sacrifice. Together you'll build something that neither of you could build alone. And when the mountains shake, and every life has mountains that shake, covenant gives you something that doesn't shake. Circumstances may change, but your faithfulness to one another remains. And it's true for Ruach Israel too. Ultimately here, we are building something much larger than ourselves, an intergenerational Jewish reawakening in Yeshua. When we say welcome guests, reach out, it isn't simply something we say at the door when someone comes in. It's the way that we build the tent. So this year, let God stretch you. Open your life, open your home, open your table. And when mountains shake, remember, his love will not depart from us. His covenant of shalom will not be shaken. Trust in his unshakable love. Sing for joy. And then when God brings new life, enlarge the tent. Don't hold back. Make room. Shabbat shalom, everyone.